Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. We're very pleased to be here and very pleased to have you. My name is Armando Ortega, and I'm the Director of Product Marketing at Replicon. And again, I want to thank everyone for joining today's webinar entitled Avoiding Costly Wage and Hour Compliance Penalties, which will also consist of a live demo and a Q&A. And today I'm joined by my colleague, Kishore Prasad, who is the team lead in our solution engineering group here at Replicon. And in today's webinar, we're going to be discussing the topic of compliance for time and attendance and also absence management. We'll first look at some of the challenges that companies are facing and how a time and attendance solution like Replicon can help avoid some of those risks of non-compliance, while also at the same time increasing employee productivity. Our webinar today is going to feature a very fast-paced 30-minute format. This is for us to be able to give you the information quickly and let you get on with your day. So Kishore will be spending the majority of the webinar giving you an actual demonstration of the product. But before that, I'd like to give you a brief overview of Replicon. So let's get started. Now, before we go into the core of our presentation, I did want to spend a few minutes to just go over a few housekeeping items so that you know how you can participate in today's webinar. You'll be kept on mute during the duration of the presentation, but you can submit your questions at any time during this presentation by using the Q&A text box that's located on the right-hand side of the screen. We'll be addressing the questions at the end of the presentation, so we should have time to go through those. So without any further ado, let's get started with the program. So I'd like to start out by telling you a little bit about Replicon. Replicon is the leader in cloud time tracking applications. We are used by millions globally around the world to do many things, such as manage workforce attendance, which will be the main focus of what we're talking about today. We're also used to manage project-based tracking and costing, as well as managing professional services organizations who need to track time for billing. We also are deployed in a lot of shared services environments to help service centers accurately track how their teams are spending their time. We are trusted by over 7,800 companies of all sizes from all around the world. We have companies like Xerox, Credit Suisse, Moody's, many large companies that depend on our solutions, as well as a lot of smaller companies that have fewer employees. Because our solution is delivered via the cloud, there's no installation required, no hardware to deploy. So it's a very relatively straightforward process to get up and running. And so it's a very appealing solution for a lot of smaller companies as well as large enterprise companies. So let's get into the topic that will be the focus of our discussion today and how compliance affects organizations. So as many of you are probably already very familiar and aware, compliance is something that really hits organizations from many different angles. And looking at this, it kind of looks like an alphabet soup of compliance regulations, but essentially organizations are tasked with dealing with a lot of regulations from not only HR, which would be kind of the main focus of today's webinar, but also from all different areas of spectrum of topics such as finance. So whether it's federal regulations such as Sarbanes-Oxley, the one that hits HR the most is complying with FLSA standards, meeting the ACA requirements, all the way to other things that are third parties such as dealing with unions and unions contracts. All of these things make life challenging for the HR group. The other thing is that the problem is actually more common than a lot of people think. Just talking about an example here with the Department of Labor talking about non-compliance with wage and hour laws, they estimate that about 7 out of 10 organizations are probably not being compliant with some element of the law. So that's quite a bit. We're talking about 70% here. And the costs for not being compliant run quite high. This is a study done by the New York Economic Consulting Report, where we can see some of these figures, $2.7 billion total that was paid by companies to settle wage and hour disputes, and this is over the last 6 years. And then when looking at the average amount paid by companies, that number is also quite high to resolve these compliance-related issues. Of course, these are averages, so they can be a lot lower, but it could also be higher. So in any case, these are pretty big and pretty staggering figures. Now, the way our solution like Replicon can help is by providing a few benefits, and these are the kind of the key high-level benefits that our clients that work with us really talk about the most and are happy to get with our solution. The first is the ability to get greater insight into their labor, and so because through a very effective time tracking solution, organizations have better visibility into how employees are spending their time, not only capturing it correctly for compliance, which would be the next bullet here, but also just having that visibility about how employees are spending their time. If you're running projects, having the ability to track time by project, which some of our companies, some of our customers also do. So that greater insight gives you a better ability to plan out how you use your workforce. The second is the compliance aspect that will be the focus of this presentation. And that has to do with a lot of different things. One is having a system that is easy that people can use so that you have high adoption and people are entering information correctly because we provided easy mechanism for doing that. But also having all those built-in validations and to help alert people when compliance issues might be arising, or ensuring that there are double checks and cross checks when people submit their time. Having the right reporting to give the insight to ensure that compliance requirements are being met. All of those different capabilities help to address the risk of non-compliance. And then the last item here is optimizing processes. And by that we mean is essentially going towards an automating solution. For those that traditionally use either Excel or have a manual process, or sometimes they have systems in place, but they're disparate. They're not all connected into one platform. There's a lot of inefficiencies in that. And so by automating on one standard platform, you reap the benefits of making that process a lot faster, eliminating manual efforts, and increasing accuracy. So with that, at this point, what I'd like to do is hand it over to my colleague here, who will give you a demo of the solution. So Kishore, let me hand it over to you. I'll go ahead and hand over presenter right and let you walk us through the product.
Sure. Thank you very much for that, Armando. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Can you confirm if you're able to see my screen?
Yes, I can. Looks great.
Awesome. Great. Hello, everyone. As Armando mentioned in his presentation, any system that needs to be compliant, there are several factors, parameters that drives the solution to be a compliant solution. One of the major ones is user adoption, of the flexibility of the timesheet. We are looking at one of Replicon's solution, which is mainly used for time attendant modules, which is payroll perspective, time tracking. And this time attend module allows user to not only go ahead and fill in time related for the day, also helps them to go ahead and submit or request for time offs. You're currently looking at one of our several formats of our timesheet. It's the standard timesheet where users can just put in bulk hours towards a specific task or an activity that they are working, and these activities can be configured, by an administrator, which could be specific to users. It also captures the number of hours worked on a daily basis, and also shows real-time visibility into the number of regular hours or overtime hours, and also the time off hours and the pay codes associated to it. So it gives a real-time visibility for the end users, and also from an administrative or from a payroll perspective to see the pay codes associated. These pay codes can be retrospective, or basically you can mention an effective date, which will basically take care moving forward. We also can go ahead and enforce timesheet formats based on user adoption, that is either entering the bulk hours towards tasks or activities, or can also be capturing exact start and end time of the day. The solution also gives you the flexibility to go ahead and capture any kind of comments the user wants to send across to the supervisor or the manager or the payroll perspective, it captures information on a day-to-day basis. From an end user's perspective, time off tracking is also very flexible. It gives you the intuitive calendar interface where based on the role or the permission that the user is logging in, they either get to see the entire company's information or just their own information on the time off calendar. This is like a shared calendar view, which can be based on approval status displayed in color codes, whether it's approved or waiting for approval or rejected. It's going to be enforcing compliance or making sure users get real-time visibility into their balances, also while they are booking their time off or requesting their time off, restricting them not to go to a negative balance, or making sure at the end of the year then they don't end up with a negative balance. The accrual calculations or automation of the accrual policies can be counted in the system here, which will be basically set up at the user level, not at the global level. This time off booking interface that you're looking at is more intuitive from an end user perspective, where they get to see a trend of for a particular month how many days they've taken for either a vacation or a sick or emergency, and also they get to see the real-time balance information as of the day that they have requested for a time off. Now, both from the timesheet perspective and the time off perspective, when users go ahead and submit this information, the system allows you to set up a workflow process. So that is another parameter that drives compliance. If any organization would need to go ahead and monitor or supervise the timesheet submitted or time off requests that have been submitted. So the team section is a view that allows supervisors or managers to basically review or monitor their team members' timesheet and time off information. It gives the capability to go ahead and configure these dashboards. That is, they can choose what columns or information they would like to track here. They can also go ahead and drill down onto any specific user's information to see more detailed views. For example, I want to see Scott's timesheet for that particular timesheet period, where it shows me the exact hours logged against different activities and also any comments. Whatever my response is, that is reject or approve, again, it triggers an email. So basically, email notifications are triggered at every step of this workflow. That is, when the user submits a timesheet or a time off request, approvers approving it or rejecting it, emails get going back to the end users. It gives a real-time dashboard view or visibility into their team members' timesheet information, where as a supervisor, I can track to see who within my team has not submitted the timesheet or whose timesheets are waiting for my approval, etc. From a time off perspective, as a supervisor, I also get to see a calendar where by default it's showing my team members or information. So this can be like a view where I can see the staffing for the day and also make sure that I have enough people supporting or working for that current day and not many taking sick or vacation. Real-time team balance information. I can also go ahead and see how my users or my employees can plan their vacation or sick leave or paternity leave, etc. From a payroll perspective, that is like a payroll administrator, they also have a part of the compliant, a part of compliance here. That is, from a high-level administrative perspective, they would need to monitor from an organizational level who has not submitted timesheet or who's a supervisor who's not approving timesheet on time, making sure that timesheets are being processed to the payroll solution and paychecks are being processed on time. At any point of time, they can go ahead and use the dashboard views here to filter it based on people who have not submitted or people's timesheets who are overdue. And all that information that is tracked in Replicon, end of the day, needs to be pushed to a third-party solution, maybe a payroll solution that you're using today like Paychex or ADP or Ceridian, and that can be done through the Expo tab. The Expo tab allows you to push data out of Replicon in one of the formats that we support, like a flat file or a CSV, and they can also review before the data is pushed out of the solution. They can also review to see, validate to see if the data is correct, and then export the information out of the solution. This is one of the methods that allows you to take data out of Replicon. The other methods are basically through reports. The reporting engine on the Replicon Time Attend solution is quite robust. It gives you the flexibility to go ahead and create your own customized or ad hoc reports from scratch by clicking onto the new report link. Or I can also choose to configure or modify any of these existing or canned reports available out of the box. For example, let's take the report which says pay code details by day. It shows you, hours logged by employees on a daily basis for a specific time period that I've selected or a timesheet period that I've selected, and also shows you the pay codes associated to those hours logged by the users. At any point of time, no report in Replicon is static. All reports are dynamic. It allows you to go ahead and configure it the way you would like to see it. For example, I would like to add more columns or track more data in this report. I can go ahead and choose data points that I need from this list, or allows me to go ahead and create a calculated value that is setting up a formula like Excel-based formulas using operators or logical conditions around them. Let's take an example of a timesheet audit trail report, a very good report to make sure users are not making any modifications or changes to their timesheets, or even if they have done, it gives you detailed information on timestamp, who modified, what was modified. So this is a very good report to make sure, again, compliance is driven. No one runs out of leakages here, or can be tracked very easily. All reports in Replicon can be pushed out in the raw format, again, to the Excel format or CSV format. So that's another method to take data out of Replicon and use it for any third-party applications that you're using. Reports can also be automated, where they can be scheduled on a particular time period, maybe weekly or bi-weekly, to specific users in the format that you desire. Okay, so just to do a recap of what we have seen till now is, from an end user's perspective, making sure they have a hassle-free experience of just logging into the Replicon portal and then entering the time and logging out. Shown you the several formats of timesheets that we have, either the bulk hour entry or punching in and punching out on a timesheet with the exact time period. Also taking a look at the time off calendar, which is the intuitive calendar interface, which shows either the entire company's information or the limited information that I'm allowed to see as an end user. Gives me visibility or flexibility to see my real-time balance information as of today. I can also go ahead and use the calendar feed capabilities here, which allows me to push data out of this calendar to any third-party calendar that I'm using, like iPhone calendars or Outlook or Google calendars. From a team perspective, we've also seen how monitoring can be done, how supervisors or managers can review their team members' timesheets or time-off requests. And from a payroll perspective, from a high-level administration perspective, tracking the entire organization's timesheets, and also get to see the real-time time-off balance information, and pushing out data from Replicon to third-party solutions using the export capability. Okay. I know there are going to be questions here, so with that, I'm going to go ahead and pass this over to Armando. Armando, all yours.
Great, thanks, Kishore, and thank you for a really great overview of the product. So, folks, this is time for the Q&A section. So please, if you have questions, submit them on the Q&A text box on the right-hand panel. And I see that we have some already here. So I'll start going to the ones that we have now, but please, if you have others, just please just type them in, and we'll get to as many as we can today. So I see a question here from Sharon. Sharon, I think needs a clarification. Did Kishore state that an email was auto-populated when PTO is requested and approved, or was that specific to time cards needing approval when emails are populated? So, Kishore, maybe you can give a little bit more detail on how the emails work in Replicon.
Sure. So the communication of the email notifications are triggered at every workflow step, and it's independent of the time card, that is a timesheet and the time off. So anytime a user submits a timesheet, there is an email notification triggered to the respective approver. And anytime a user submits a time off request, the approval path could be different, or the approver could be different for time off, which is respective of the timesheet. So again, there is an email notification triggered. Whatever happens from an approvals perspective, either approve or reject, again, there is an email triggered back to the end user.
Great, thanks, Kishore. Yes, please, folks, you can feel free to submit your questions. Here's another question from Karen. Can you support different overtime rules by state?
Definitely. The solution allows you to go ahead and we do have some predefined, basically Replicon solution has predefined overtime rules created for different states or different regions, which can be utilized out of the box, but also gives you the capability to go ahead and set up rules as per your specific region or labor law that you follow, which could be like a California overtime rule or Colorado or any other state that you're following. And these are already predefined in the solution in the form of templates. So meaning you don't have to set up calculations manually, you just need to choose the appropriate overtime rule and assign it to the users.
Okay, great. Here's another question from Robert. We already use an HRS system at our organization. Will we be able to import user data into your solution?
Definitely yes. So we do support several methods for that. Again, one is through the upload feature that Replicon supports. So all data that you can extract onto a CSV file from your HRS system. It could be user data, anything that you can export out of the system there can be imported into Replicon. Or the other method is a fully automated method of using our Replicon's web services or API capabilities, which takes or reflects real-time information. So meaning any user created in your HRMS system will be reflected in Replicon.
Thanks, Kishore. Here's another question. Can I view future balances so that employees can plan their vacations better?
Oh yeah. So the real-time dashboard views that I've taken you through when we went through the time off portion, from an end user perspective, again, I get to see balances real time, which is based on a specific date range that I can choose, so I can see for a future date range. Also shows me as of the date that I've selected that I want to take time off, as of that date, what is going to be my balance, either in terms of days or hours that can be configured. And again, from a manager or a supervisor's perspective, they also get to see real-time information of their employees for a future date range too.
Great. Here's a question from Tony along the same line. So does the system calculate vacation accrual balances? How does that work?
Similar to how we set up overtime rules in Replicon based on different laws or regulations. The time-off accruals are also based on policies that are already predefined. You either use the canned templates of the policies defined in there or create your own policy, which would basically meaning specify how when the payroll of the pay period is, that is how often the accrual happens, and how many hours or days do they accrue every pay period. We can also go ahead and enforce or put in thresholds or caps into how much the user can go into a negative balance. If you don't want your users to go into a negative balance, we can also put a validation for that. Basically, they would not be able to submit a time-off request when their balances are nil.
Great, thanks. And I see one more question here. If anybody has any more questions, please type them into the Q&A box now. And does the system track international holidays?
Definitely, yes. So the solution allows you to create multiple holiday calendars based on regions your users are working out of. So if you have a global presence where maybe users are working out of California, New York, or different countries, you can go ahead and create holiday calendars which specifically falls for that particular region. And these holiday calendars are basically assigned to users, and holidays are populated on their time-off calendar. Also feeds into the timesheet. So whatever falls on the time-off calendar flows back into the timesheet, which is a part of the time and attendance module.
Great, thank you, Kishore. So I don't see any further questions here in the Q&A panel. If there are any more, please go ahead and type them in. Otherwise, I think we've addressed the questions for now, at least. If you have any further questions, please feel free to reach out to us, and we'll be happy to get back to you and answer any other additional questions that you might have that we didn't get to in this webinar presentation. So with that done, I think we are ready to sign off. Kishore, once again, thank you very much for a great product overview. Thank you to everybody who joined us today. It was really a pleasure having you here, and hopefully you were able to have some good takeaways out of this session. So have a great day, and speak to you later.